Welcome. My name is Maureen Scallon-Failer, President of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for coming out today for what will be a very exciting and informative program. We are venturing on a very exciting time for our community in Dakota County. And we are so lucky to have the Minnesota Vikings in our community and as a great partner of the Dakota County Regional Chamber of Commerce. In just under a month, we will be host to the inaugural Verizon Vikings training camp. Yes. And we are very fortunate as we are one of the few cities to boast and really be that we have an NFL headquarters team in our community, the facility, the TCO Performance Center. The long-term investment of the Vikings organization will have a significant positive and economic impact for all of Dakota County, the metropolitan area, and even the state of Minnesota. It will be very impactful. I am pleased to introduce the Mayor of Eagan, Mike McGuire. The city has been working with the Minnesota Vikings through the planning and construction of the TCO Performance Center and has been a wonderful partner of the Chamber of Commerce as well. Mayor, could you please come up?
Thank you, Maureen, and to the Dakota County Regional Chamber and to the Eagan business community as well. I'm really appreciative to be able to be here with you today and to share in this update. You know, it seems that summer has gone by, or is going by, awfully quick. Just a couple weeks ago, school let out. We've had players at the TCO Performance Center for months trying out the new facility. We just had a ribbon cutting last week. And as Maureen told you, we're within 30 days of the first Vikings training camp here in Eagan. So it's very exciting. The Vikings and the city will talk more about training camp and plans as we go into today. But I think first off, for those of us that were at the ribbon cutting last week, let's maybe just take a moment and recognize the outstanding new headquarters and practice facility the Vikings have brought here to Eagan. You know, in a league that is competitive both on and off the field, I think it's safe to say that the Vikings have set a new bar for practice facilities and for their all-around team headquarters. Beyond Commissioner Goodell coming out to visit the site this past weekend, we already know that there are representatives from other teams around the NFL coming into Eagan to see what the Vikings have done as they consider their own projects for their own headquarters in their own NFL cities. On the field, we know that the new facilities have helped attract new players and have greatly impressed the current players of an already great team, hopefully inspiring them to even better success in 2018. But too often going unnoticed among all of that are the off-field players. Recently, the Star Tribune said, a Star Tribune columnist who's not known for handing out accolades, noted and described Kevin Warren as exceptional and commanding of respect from around the league. Another quality off-the-field player we have today is Lester Bagley. Lester has more than 30 years in public affairs experience. And he was just the guy to eventually get elected leaders in St. Paul and in Minneapolis to agree on another marquee addition to the Twin Cities area, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. That was quite an accomplishment on Lester's part, and he worked on it for a lot of years. Congratulations, Lester. I think it's safe to say that when Vikings ownership first started talking about Eagan as a location for their new headquarters and practice facility, they were not used to dealing with a city council and a staff that are straightforward, that work together through problems, and that can help to get the project done on time. And I would say that together, the Vikings and the city of Eagan have come up with a great product, and we're very pleased with it. There'll be a lot of extra eyes on Eagan about a month from now. And I want to ask our business community in particular to step up and do all that you can to welcome the Vikings players, coaches, staff, and the thousands of visitors that will come to Eagan for training camp and beyond. We want those fans to come back again and again, to eat in our restaurants, to stay in hotels, to spend money in our stores, and to find out and get the feeling that Eagan is a warm and welcoming community with lots to do and lots to see. So, there's no second chances to make a first impression. That's why we and the Vikings have been going through a lot of planning to get ready, and you're going to hear about that more in a minute. But I want to conclude with the notion that it's important to remember that the Mankato tradition was built over the course of 52 years, not all at once. And the Vikings in Eagan are building on that foundation while establishing new traditions here in Eagan. I am certain that the fan experience in July and August will be top-notch. I am also certain that the fan experience in July and August of 2019 and 2020 and 2021 will be even better and better and better. So with that, let's hear now from Vikings Executive Vice President of Public Affairs, Lester Bagley.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're excited to be your partner and your neighbor and to really kick off Verizon Training Camp for 2018, as the Mayor said, as Maureen said, in a few short weeks. So it's been a tremendous amount of work and energy have gone into it from our organization as well as the City of Eagan and the planning and getting ready. And today we're kind of going to lay it out, and we're going to hear from Executive Director of Communications, Jeff Anderson, who's going to walk through the game plan that we have for training camp. But I wanted to just kick it off by, again, thanking everybody for being here, but also thanking everyone for their partnership and their commitment to the Vikings, and it's been a great start. Maureen asked me to give a brief update on where we are with TCO Performance Center, and I know that's tough to see from the back of the room, and I think we're going to have some materials at the end to pass out regarding training camp, but as you all know, we have the 200-acre site, the Viking Lakes site, with 40 acres in the top sort of center being the team headquarters and practice facility. So that ribbon cutting, as Mayor McGuire mentioned, was on Friday. Commissioner Goodell and the ownership and a few of our players, our coach, our general manager all came for the occasion to officially cut the ribbon. And as this TCO Performance Center is now complete. What's to come now is filling out the rest of the campus, the rest of the 200 acres, and that's where you'll start to hear news from additional partners and projects that are coming online. What you can see maybe from your seat is the top right corner. You see that sort of purple-pink square box between the two little lakes on top. That is the site and the plan for a future hotel, a 4-star hotel and conference center. And that's not a reality yet. We're working hard. We're working on the finance plan. There's a gap we're trying to fill, but it's still something that's part of our vision. We'd very much like to see that amenity at that site. We think there's a great market for it, but work to be done. And then in the lower left-hand corner surrounding the lake down there is more of a residential plan. So with those kind of on the immediate docket and some additional retail, medical, office, retail, or restaurant and shops, we're going to continue our effort to develop this into the Viking Lakes destination, a live, work, play environment. And it could take 5, 10, 15 years to evolve into that, but that's where we're headed. And as I said, the next two dominoes, we hope, are the hotel, the 4-star hotel conference center, and then followed by residential. So there is a little video here that shows a lot of work that has been done. The stadium is now complete and ready. We're going to be announcing our plan here to have Friday Night Lights, a high school football showcase this upcoming fall. So we're very excited about that, kind of working kind of parallel tracks, one on training camp and the other on high school football, as well as obviously our football team. Oh yeah, we've got a football season coming up. But we're very excited about this stadium, the 6,500-seat stadium, and you all see it for training camp. We're going to have a night practice there. Jeff will talk a little bit more about that. That was the locker room, and some of you have seen it, but this is the video. This is a recent flyover, just to show kind of the progress. This is over the last week or 10 days. Some of you were there for the ribbon cutting. We're also planning more of a community celebration in July. You'll hear more about that, but you can see that the development is coming together. Between the two lakes is the entry point, the Legends Crossing, where people will actually enter training camp, and Jeff will walk through the map. But just to show the construction, some of the finished product, the locker room, which is a team store, and then the training house, which is part of our partnership with Twin Cities Orthopedics, and tremendous partner, and a community partner, as well as a development partner. And as we fade back, you can see the fields on the left side. There's those 4 practice fields. Training camp will be on the 2 fields on the southern end. Again, Jeff will go through map and schematic there. But this shows the progress and the results of several years of work and incredible team effort, and a commitment and a vision toward this site and toward the future in Eagan. So with that, I think we're going to get to the game plan. As I said, I do want to acknowledge and thank Maureen Scallon-Thaler for her long-term partnership, personal friendship, but also in her new role, and that she's doing a great job, and we appreciate that connection. And Brent Corey with the Eagan CVB and the work that we've done together and will do together. Very, very excited about that. Obviously, the mayor, Dave Osberg, and the city council members that have been sleeves rolled up, hard at work, great partnership, and the results show. Also want to acknowledge Emily Bomback, who's on Maureen's board. Emily represents the Vikings in the community on a more day-to-day basis. So if you got any issues, bring them up with Emily. Okay. And so with that, I think, as I said, we've been hard at work. This has been a product of Vikings operations, our football team, our events team, our sales and marketing team, our communications team, and this has been truly a ton of work. And what you'll see from Jeff here now is the product of that work and our best foot forward. Clean hands and clean hearts, as Kevin Warren would say. We try to put our best foot forward here and come up with a plan that's viable, that's considerate to the community, and that will deliver a great fan experience. So with that, we'll get into the details. Let's hear for Jeff Anderson.
Earlier, thank you, Lester. Thank you all for letting me join you today. Earlier this morning, we met with about 50 members of the local media and rolled out this plan. Obviously, an exciting moment for us to be able to get to this point and have all these details out there. As we told them, 52 years in Mankato, obviously everything was pretty turnkey. It was pack up our cars, go down, and we knew what to expect. Our fans knew what to expect. This is an entirely new experience, so communication is going to be critical to our success in year one. So we were relying on media today to help get out the word. We're going to rely on everyone to help spread the word on this process. Really, we're going to throw a lot of information at you here, but if I had 3 simple takeaways for our fans, it would be: 1, reserve your ticket. So for the first time for training camp, you can no longer show up on the day of camp and expect to get in. We're going to set a reservation process in advance and ask that all fans reserve their ticket. Number 2 is plan ahead. So that's plan how you're getting your ticket, plan your parking, plan your route, plan to arrive early. We know with the security process and everything, that there's going to be some bumps along the way, but we have a plan in place. We feel good about it, so we're asking our fans to plan ahead. And number 3 is to expect a tremendous fan experience. So that's already been alluded to here. It's something that our organization does incredibly well at the stadium. It's one of our key pillars to provide a top-notch fan experience, whether it's at games, training camps, any of our events. So when you look at the larger footprint that we have for activation, for kids' games, you talk about the Vikings Museum that's scheduled to open next month. There's just a lot of great energy and excitement. So when we look at the schedule, and I apologize to the people in the back, just a couple key dates to point out. On July 25th, the rookies will practice for the first time. So we'll have 3 days where it's just rookies and select players. The veterans will report on Friday, July 27th, and the first full team practice will take place that Saturday. The first padded practice, which is obviously kind of the big moment for fans, is that Monday, July 30th, and our night practice in TCO Stadium will be Saturday, August 4th. We announced a few weeks ago that the Jacksonville Jaguars will be in town for 2 days of practices on Wednesday, August 15th, and Thursday, August 16th. And then we'll conclude camp in terms of being open to the public on that Thursday, August 16th. So a couple points on this. The rookie practices will be open to the public just like the full team practices. We're talking about 18 total days open for fans. So when you look at it from a comparison standpoint, years past, we were at 14 last year, 10 in 2016, and 14 in 2015. So one of the benefits of moving here to Eagan is we have full control of the site. We can keep camp open longer for fans. From a daily schedule standpoint, we're going to have a morning walkthrough from 10:30 to 11:30, followed by an afternoon practice from 2:45 to approximately 5 p.m. So for the first time, we're going to set a fan attendance capacity. It's going to be 5,000. That's a number that we feel really good about right now based on a number of different things. Security into the site, traffic into the site, just a top-notch fan experience, not overwhelming people in year one. Obviously, with the proximity to the cities, we expect there to be tremendous interest in camp, but we feel good about this 5,000 number. If you take it out over the 18 days, we're talking about 90,000 fans that will be able to attend training camp in 2018. Usually in Mankato, we saw between 60 and 65,000 fans, so obviously a significant change there. We're breaking our tickets into 2 areas. General admission tickets, we'll have 4,000 of those for free, but again, have to be reserved in advance. Day of access will not be allowed, and the tickets will be good for the entire day, both the morning walkthrough and the afternoon practice, so fans can come and go. Obviously, we want to encourage them to stay on the site and participate in all the activities we have, but the tickets will be good for the entire day. We'll have another section of reserved seating. So for the first time, we'll have 1,000 reserved seats. We know there's an element of our fans that want to guarantee their seat. They want to know that they can take their kids, go play some games, they can go grab some food, and come back and know that their seat is there. The only time we won't have reserved seating is for that night practice. That will all be general admission free tickets. So we're going to set a maximum number of tickets for our fans. So each fan will be allowed to reserve up to 4 tickets for up to 2 days. And the reason we're doing this is we want to provide as much access to camp to as many fans as we possibly can. We know that when you give out free tickets, it's easy to not show up, to cancel your plans, and we want to make sure these tickets land in as many hands as possible. We are going to start with a season ticket member priority. This is a benefit of being a Vikings season ticket member. That will start this Thursday at 9 a.m. So at that moment, our season ticket members can begin reserving tickets. On Monday, next Monday, June 25th, we'll open the process up to the general public. So critical point here, we're going to hold 1,300 daily general admission tickets. So when that general public access period begins, at minimum, there will be 1,300 tickets per day available for fans to grab. All tickets are going to be digital. So we announced last week that we're moving to digital ticketing for games. It's kind of the same mindset here. It's less fraud, ability to communicate directly with our fans. If there's a road closure, if there's inclement weather, we can just communicate with you directly through our Vikings app. So all tickets and all parking passes will be digital. So I just want to quick point out, and I know it's tough to see in the back, where the seating will be. So as you look, north is at the top of the image. So we're going to use the two southern practice fields. They will run north and south. We'll have the general admission seating on the south side of those fields. We'll have the quick trip red zone, that's the reserve seating that I spoke about earlier, on the west sideline, as well as Club Cambria, that's a private space for groups and sponsors. In terms of transportation and parking, we'll have approximately 2,200 parking spaces on site, but just like the tickets, they need to be reserved in advance. They can be purchased for $10. That's just what we used to do in Mankato, so we're staying consistent there, and fans can purchase one parking pass per transaction up to their 4 tickets. We're going to communicate with them as they go through the reservation process, make sure they reserve parking. If they don't, we'll follow up with an email to make sure they have their own parking. If they do not have a parking pass, they can arrange their own transportation, but they cannot park on the site. And the reason we're doing that, we don't want to be trading cash and slowing down the traffic flow. We want it to be very efficient when people show up on the site. All rideshare services and all drop-offs will be at Trinity School, our neighbors to the east. So on this map, and feel free at the end to come up and we can point things out, but just want to show the parking. Right in the center, you see an orange dot. That will be our ADA entry and parking. They will park in the ramp right there and be dropped right out onto the plaza. The rest of the fans will continue down Viking Parkway to the Northland Ford dealers parking lot. That's on the very east side of our site. We'll have 3 access points into that lot. And then in the far right top corner, you can see the Uber, the rideshare services, all drop-offs there. So a couple points. Because of the size of that parking lot, we're going to have 3 shuttle locations for anyone with mobility issues. We'll take you from your parking spot to the security gate. We'll also have golf carts from there to get them into the campsite. Any drop-offs that happen at Trinity will have a shuttle either to the security point or to the ADA checkpoint, depending on what those fans need. From a safety security standpoint, fans will enter into camp the same way they do at US Bank Stadium. So they'll go through magnetometers. We are going to allow bags of all types. We know a lot of people want to bring memorabilia for players to sign, so we'll allow bags of all types. Obviously, those will go through a thorough security search, and we'll have fast pass lanes for any fans that do not bring a bag. Prohibited items, same kind of list you would see at any stadium or arena. We have a full list of those items up on Vikings.com now. We'll have both a private security and a city police presence throughout camp. We'll have a command center on site. We'll have a roaming first aid station, a stationary first aid station, and an ambulance on site as well. In the case of inclement weather, there will be no viewing of practice. If we have to move inside or cancel practice, we'll refund the reserved seats, we'll refund the parking, but unfortunately, because we expect a complete sellout through camp, there will not be the ability to do a makeup day. So just from a security perimeter standpoint, that red line throughout the site shows you exactly where our security perimeter is. One point on this slide is just that O'Neill will be shut down on the north side. Other than credentialed staff, players, coaches, media will be able to enter O'Neill, but we're going to shut that down. So from a fan activation standpoint, the typical schedule for camp will be open 9 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. The exceptions to that are obviously the Saturday night practice be closer to 10 o'clock, and the third rookie-only practice will happen in the morning. We'll shut camp down early afternoon on that day. But otherwise, we want to create a day-long experience for fans. From a food and beverage standpoint, we're going to have both concession stands and food trucks on site. We're looking at family-friendly pricing, so similar or lower to what fans had in Mankato. So, for example, a couple staple items, hot dogs will be $3, bottles of water will be $1. We're going to allow fans to bring any bottle of water in on their own as well. We'll have a kids zone, the TCO Stadium that's now complete. That will be an activation space for interactive games for kids. And we're going to continue the autograph sessions that we had in Mankato. So every position group on the team will be scheduled to sign autographs one day during camp. And we're looking at some post-practice engagement plans right now. That may be alumni autographs, it may be live entertainment, music entertainment, and our goal here is to take pressure off egress. Obviously, practice ending at 5 o'clock, not the ideal time to dump people onto 494 and the surrounding roads. So how can we keep them on site for a little longer and take some of that pressure off? And then the Vikings Museum and Team Store. Our goal, our intention is to open those spaces prior to camp. We'll announce that hopefully here in the next couple weeks after the 4th of July. The point here is that the only fans with access to those spaces during the days of training camp will be those that have a training camp ticket, because it falls inside the security perimeter. So I think with that, because I won't try to point out the entire site, other than from a flow standpoint, they'll park on the east, they'll cross on our land bridge between the two ponds on the site, and at that point they're in the activation space. So they'll start the kids' games, there'll be concessions there, there'll be live music, a DJ there, so you'll kind of feel like you're in the camp space as soon as you cross that bridge. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Russ Mathis from the city of Eagan.
All right, thanks for having me here today. We'll get the slides up, and we'll get going. Oops. All right, so just because most of you don't know, the City of Eagan has been planning for someone to be here for quite some time, for over 20 years. We didn't know it was going to be the Vikings 20 years ago, nor really 3 years ago, but we knew someone was going to come to this part of town because we knew it was just an excellent opportunity for someone being right next to 494 and then being in Eagan, of course. So this is just a map of Northeast Eagan and some references to some studies we've had. So we've had a variety of different studies understanding the traffic that was going through this part of town and what traffic was being generated because of the businesses that were coming to Eagan and the northeast corner of Eagan, but also getting an understanding of what type of businesses we could have develop on this site and with a variety of different traffic demands that they may have. Throughout this time, as we saw needed, the council's been very supportive of approving a variety of different transportation improvements, and we've actually done a couple of them in the past 20 years on state highway systems. So we're not just taking care of our own streets, which we have been doing, and as well as partnering with the county for doing improvements on county highways, but we've also led a couple of state highway improvements on 149 south of 55 back in 2007, and again on the common segment of Highway 55 and 149 in 2014. So we've been preparing for something to happen here. We've also had some experience for some other developments within the city of Eagan and the impacts that those developments have on traffic. And so this slide represents the outlet mall. That's Cedar Grove area down at 13 and 77. And so there was a lot of expected traffic for the opening of the outlet mall. We had a number of conversations with other communities throughout the country that had similar outlet malls open in their communities, and there were a number of traffic challenges that I will say that those communities had and experienced. So we worked together with the developers as well as our partners, transportation partners, MnDOT and the county and others, and we developed a plan similar to what we've done now for the Vikings. And I don't know if any of you folks were at the outlet mall opening. I know Peter Lund was going to be here perhaps, but I think things worked quite well transportation-wise, so we were pretty happy with that, and we expect the same thing with the Vikings. So with the Vikings site, not only, I shared with you that we've got a good understanding of the traffic that's in this area from the businesses that are already there, as well as the regional traffic that travels through there. 494 is on the northern limits of the site. Highway 55 and 149 go through it as well. So, and we've got some county highways too. So we've got a good understanding of the traffic that's traveling on those roadways. So with that information, we're also able to work with the Vikings and get a good understanding of what type of traffic they were expecting to generate for the development that they were proposed. Right now, we're talking about training camp today, and so a lot of the details that we have for the traffic management plan we had dealt directly with training camp, but we've also got other development, as Lester was referencing, that we have to anticipate as well. So with this, and this is the site plan, and Jeff talked about the parking that's going to be on the east side of the site. We've got multiple access points, driveways to that parking, and so with that, most of the attendees are going to be entering the site from Vikings Parkway, so they'll be coming off of 149, either coming off of 55 or coming off of 494 to 149, and then turning onto Vikings Parkway in order to access the site. Once they do that, they will be led to the parking lot, and then they will be directed to a variety of different entrances to the parking. So in order to keep the parking going as efficiently as possible, we'll have all of the parking entrances monitored, and so we may be switching folks to go to a second or third driveway entrance just to keep the flow going as quickly as possible and to have the traffic moving on public streets as quickly as possible. Like I mentioned, we'll be monitoring things, and not only will we be monitoring them at the entrances to the parking lot, we'll also be monitoring things along the public streets, along the state highways, along the county roads. We'll have some traffic control officers stationed throughout to make sure that traffic is moving as good as it possibly can be. With the events that are going to occur on the Vikings site at TCO Performance Center, we recognize through the study that we did that there's going to be three main items that are going to impact the type of mitigation efforts we'll need to utilize in order to best manage the traffic. And so what this exhibit shows you is that the column on the far left indicates the different sizes. It relays different events and then references the size of attendees or the number of attendees that would be anticipated to attend those events. And so the number of attendees ties into the number of drivers and vehicles that will be bringing those attendees there. On the top row, you're looking at events or the days and times that we would have. And so it's also important whether it's a weekday or a weekend, and if you've got a business in that area, you can understand Monday through Friday there's going to be business folks, employees in the neighborhood. We're not going to have that on the weekend, so that's going to have an impact. And then the other impacts are the time of the day. So most folks are coming to work or in the morning rush and leaving in the evening rush hours. So those are times where if we're having events that are either bringing traffic to the site or traffic's leaving the site at those same times, that can have a more significant impact because of the rush hour traffic. If we're leaving in the middle of the day, it may not be as big of an issue. So what this indicates, and you may not be able to see it very well, but this is a map of Northeast Eagan, and the Vikings site has the purple training camp box in the middle, and the dots on there are a variety of different mitigation efforts that we'll utilize for not only training camp, but for events, any kinds of events that are happening out at TCO Performance Center. So what we've learned from our experience with the outlet malls, that one of the key, most important tools to utilize are flaggers, parking attendants. So if you've gone to the state fair before, if you've gone to Dakota County Fair, you've probably followed a kid with a flag, an orange flag, to a specific driving spot. Rather than having people take the opportunity to drive around the parking lot and try and find the best parking, it's important to get the drivers immediately or as quickly as possible to a parking spot, because if they're taking up time, it just backs on up out of the parking lot and out onto the street. So it's a huge time saver for us. So that'll be a tool that we'll utilize at all events. Wayfinding signage, helping folks get there, helping them get off of 494 to onto 149, understanding that they need to turn on the Vikings Parkway, and even once they get on Vikings Parkway, which lane should they be in? If they're a media person, or if they're someone who needs assistance, they maybe should be in the inside lane. Whereas if they're a regular patron going to the larger parking lot on the east end, they'll need to be in the outside parking lane. Signal timing modification. So we're working with MnDOT. We've got a number of different partners that we've been working on developing this plan with, MnDOT, Dakota County, and the adjacent cities, both from public works, transportation officials, and law enforcement representatives. And so what our partners at MnDOT are going to do for us is they're going to modify the traffic signals on 149 and 55 to provide preference or give preference to those folks that are going to the training camp. So whereas typically Highway 55 or 149 would get the priority on the timing of the traffic signals, in these instances, there will be more time provided for those folks that are attending training camp. Other items or tools that we'll use are traffic control officers. That's probably the dot that is on there most frequently, is having police officers located at intersections where there's maybe a side stop sign, or maybe one stop sign, one or two stop signs, or a four-way stop sign, but there isn't a traffic signal. And so there will be a police officer there that would be the traffic control for the vehicles traveling through there. And then the last one is just using signage and coning, restricting, delineating turns. So again, as I suggested or was referencing earlier on, if you're going to the media entrance or to the ADA entrance, there will be delineations that will tell you to go in one lane versus going in the other lane if you're going to the main parking. So advice, if I were going to give advice to folks that owned businesses or that worked at a business within the neighborhood, that for one, there's going to be good communication between the Vikings and their neighbors, so that when events are coming, you will be notified of those events, the schedules of those events, which Jeff just shared, and so you, as well as your employees, can plan ahead. And so some employees may decide that they want to come to work early that day. They know that the events for attendees are going to start at 9 a.m., and that's usually when they show up at work. They may decide that they want to come in at 8 o'clock that day. Leaving early, perhaps. They understand that the afternoon session is going to end at 5, and so they could expect a lot of people to leave at 5, and so maybe they want to leave at 3:30 that day or something like that. So there's going to be good communication between the Vikings and its neighbors, so employees and their employers can make decisions along those lines, as well as deliveries. Also, if you've got a delivery expected and your truck needs to take access on Vikings Parkway or Lone Oak Road or Ames Crossing Road, it may be in your best interest, or you may want to have discussions with your delivery services and discuss the activities that are going on, the events, and the potential for greater traffic. So just to end on my part, we have a plan. We have a travel demand management plan that we've worked on, similar to what we utilized for the opening of the outlet mall, but more intense, more in depth, a lot more variety of opportunities or mitigation efforts in this case. We have the experience, as I shared with you to start with. We're ready. We've been meeting with Vikings. We've got a team of representatives from our adjacent neighbors, again, MnDOT, Dakota County, law enforcement, traffic professionals, as well as the Vikings. And we've been meeting every other week for the last few months, getting ready to implement the mitigation efforts. So we've got a plan, we've got a toolbox, we've got tools. Now we need to put the specific tools in the toolbox. So we're hiring consultants. The Vikings are hiring contractors. We're coordinating with MnDOT to get approvals on signs. Signs are being ordered. So we're getting ready to put everything in place. We know what we need to do. The plan is flexible. We know we will have things prepared. We'll have the police officers ready to go. We'll have the signage up. We'll have the signals modified. But if things aren't going how we anticipate them to go, we'll modify the plan. We'll change up what we need to change up and handle it accordingly. Our expectation, like the Vikings, is to have all those in attendance, as well as all those who live in the area or all those who work in the area, to have a positive experience. Again, just like any other big event, whether it's a state fair or it's a major concert or something, if you're going to attend, you expect that you're going to have some traffic. And so plan ahead. All those who are planning on attending training camp should plan ahead and be prepared for a little bit of traffic, but it shouldn't be anything overly painful. So we've got a good plan in place, and we're looking forward to having training camp happen. And with that, I'll hand this off to Maureen.
Thank you, Russ. Now we will open it up for Q&A. So Lester, Jeff, and Russ, if you want to come back. Questions regarding TCO Performance Center, training camp, traffic. This is your time. We got them all up here. So any questions? And use your outdoor voice. So any adjustments to the plan is your question? How will that be communicated?
So we are sharing with the Vikings contact information with the area businesses, specifically within that area, and I would say 494 to Inver Grove Heights to Lone Oak, and 55 in essence to 149. And so they'll have communication information for them, and then the Vikings will reach out to those folks, and a connection will be made.
On some of the activities that are going to be there in terms of the kid zone on the field. Can you give a little more flavor of what fans can experience, or do you have a real good sense of like who your vendors are going to be on the site, what the plaza is going to look like and things?
So more details as to what's taking place on the training camp, Mayor?
Yeah, not so much on the football field, but
On the
campus.
plaza, okay.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the detail in terms of the vendors aren't established. We're working with 3 different food trucks right now to get those folks on site. I obviously alluded to the food and beverage items, but typically at camp, what we'll do along with the practices is we'll have some youth football camps. We'll have a cheerleading camp. You know, those are days that we'll set in July, so fans will know when we have those going on. But then we have a number of interactive games where kids can compete against other kids on the site. Obviously, the museum is something completely new. We're incredibly excited about that space, 15,000 square feet of Vikings history and interaction there for fans, and a full team store is something we've never had before. So we're excited about all those possibilities. I think as we get a little closer to camp, we'll start to kind of roll out more and more of those details.
Come on, folks, this is your time. Just quickly, the Eagan Convention and Visitors Bureau is very engaged as to what is taking place. Hotel information, restaurants, all retail. Brent Corey, are you and your team here? Could you please stand? I want to recognize Brent and his team. They are a true partner of the Minnesota Vikings in the chamber, and they are here to help all of our visitors to make them feel welcome. Yep.
Yeah, just on your way out, we have 2 documents. We have a FAQ document that was posted on our website today that answers a lot of the questions we went over here, as well as the full training camp schedule. So you can grab those on your way out. Obviously, all of this information is now up on Vikings.com /training camp. So hope to see you guys out there.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much for coming. I do want to again thank our partners, the City of Eagan, the Eagan Convention and Visitors Bureau. I also want to recognize Lost Spur and the folks here. They've done a great job getting the place all festive. Purple seats and gold, go Vikings. So thank you, Lost Spur, for your support. Afterwards, we, of course, it's towards the end of the day. It's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So we're going to open up the bar for some cocktails, and we'll have hors d'oeuvres. So please feel free, stick around. Lots of business here. Let's network. Let's make those connections. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for coming. Now we have just a couple more things we'd like to do before we conclude the official program. Ready? Come on, people, we're gonna stand up. Stand up. One more. Are you ready? Let's do it. All right. Thank you. You were great. Thank you to the Minnesota Vikings. Lester, Jeff, thank you so much for your support. Stick around and let's have some fun. Go Vikings! Are you going to stick around for some photos? If any of you would like to come forward and have some pictures or photo ops with our Viking cheerleaders, please do so.